Hello everybody and welcome back to M.A.V. Today, you meet me in the garage, but today is not going to be like a usual M.A.V. one-shots. Today, instead of one match, one kill, or one death, we are going to do one build. But it will not be this build. This is the Roughneck, the glorious, glorious Roughneck. It's a simple build. It is not the sort of build that you need to worry about making. It's the sort of thing that someone new to the game might pick up and just make on their own. Not to say it's a bad build, but it is not the build that I would like to use today. So, empty out our garage, and let's start fresh. Oh, and that wasn't a bug, that was just the crane. Alright, first things first, when you're building a M.A.V, you're going to want to add some sort of a mobility. Some sort of a chassis, rather. The question is which? Reverse joints, these tend to have a lot of stability. They're not too fast, not too armored, but they can carry a decent amount, and they don't move. Like, your cockpit just doesn't move when you fire big guns. You just stay there and not shift. Others, such as the treads, these are the most heavily armored of the M.A.V. chassis. They can also carry a lot, second only to the hexapods, which we'll get to in a while. But the armor, as you can see, some of these guys, 40,000 defense, which is essentially the hit points. 35 armor, which is a pretty high chance to not take any damage from any individual shot. And even the least of them has 25 armor and over 1,000 health. So these are pretty beefy. These are good for defenders. And then next you have bipeds. These are pretty decent all around. They're agile, they're decently fast, they have a decent weight limit, okay armor, okay defense. They're just they're your general soldier build, generally. As you can see by how they're called SOL, that stands for soldier. Wheels are fast and zippy. They're the scout chassis, as you can tell, at least for now. They're fast, but they don't necessarily turn great, and they don't have very much, what's the word? Max load, as you can see here. Decent. And they're definitely tougher than the next option, the hovers. Hovers are fast, agile, but basically made out of paper, and they can't carry anything. A cockpit and a couple guns, maybe. And then last, hexapods. These are big and slow and stompy, and they can carry a whole lot. As you can see, this guy, the least of them, 10,000 weight units. And I guess this one is, some of these are the lessers, like 9,500, still. But yeah, and that's anywhere up to, 12,300. Now, if some of the numbers seem odd to you, looking at these, that's because the parts, the data for the parts is actually generated by a computer. It's not, these aren't each individually made. Instead, the developer just has a program that he made where he types the general outlines of a type of part or a very base part into this program, and then it'll automatically generate these fancy versions, these different versions of it. Anyways, what I think I might do today, I'm really not sure what I want to use. I might try reverse joints, although the thing that I have is with the reverse joints, they're so slow. Or not necessarily slow, but they're non-agile. They don't brake quickly, they don't accelerate quickly. They can move decently fast. But aside from that, I don't know. Maybe I could try to make a fast reverse joint. 42, 44. So that would be these boosteds. Stomper boosted. Max load 6,000. Now, right now, you can see there's a cost associated with each of these. In this particular version of M.A.V, we don't have money. That was in for a short time at one point, but for these early builds, the developer wants us to all have access to everything, so we can double check to see, you know, if there's weird bugs or part-specific collision errors, that sort of thing, without having to worry about building up funds and money in order to buy new parts. There will be a mode that's like this. Let's go with the Stomper Boosteds. There will be a mode that's like this eventually, where it's just kind of a completely free battle and you build what you want. But right now, that's just what everything is. Alright. Now, these guys don't have the greatest amount of weight that they can carry. Only 6,000. There are others that can carry more without too much of a loss, but I'm going to try to go with as fast as I can get this. Now, something that we can do... Actually, yeah, that would be... Let's see how fast we can get these. Huh. So, light cockpit would be a Hawk. We could get a powered Hawk as well. Powered Hawk is not that much heavier, only 75... Nope, only 200 heavier. That's a lot. For, what, 80 energy use? Let's see how much energy it gives. It gives 425. Compared to generators, 420. Which really, if you consider it, takes 80, so that's actually more like 500. And this weighs 500. So yeah, that actually is a good power to weight ratio on there. Alright. But let's also add on this guy. Big generator. Big, beefy, bulky generator. Now, I'm going to do something... I told you that I was going to be showcasing a few of the kind of ideas in the current meta of M.A.V building, and this is the first one that I'll start with. There's two basic different kinds of builds. There is the cockpit on chassis build, which is like that. Cockpit is directly on the chassis. Or something called a spine build, that the players have been calling it that. And that's where you have a part in between the chassis and the cockpit. Any part. Could be a generator, could be a weapon. You can do that in this game. Could be spacers, could be auxiliary deploy parts, could, I guess, be armor eventually, except all the armor only has one attachment point, so you can't do that yet. At least not with a valid build. But what that ends up doing... I might not want to do that with this one, then. I forgot that this doesn't have any side attach points, which is common on most cockpits, but these Hawks don't have any side attach points, so that limits their usability in that manner a little bit. Yeah, let's not do that, then. So, we'll go with a not spine build. The difference here is in M.A.V, if you lose a part, then you lose everything that is dependent on that part. You can see I attach the cockpit to the chassis, I attach this to the cockpit. If the cockpit went, then this gets destroyed as well. Or if I had this attached to the chassis, and then the cockpit attached to this, if this went, the cockpit would go. And that's what we call a spine, is when you have a non-critical part. You have critical parts depending on non-critical parts. The two critical parts are the chassis and the cockpit. If either of those get killed, you're dead. If your generator gets taken off, you're not dead, unless your cockpit is dependent on that generator. In which case, take out the generator, you lose all the weapons attached to it, you lose all the space attached to it, you lose the cockpit attached to it, and you're dead. It's an interesting thing, and something that isn't seen in some other games of this sort of mech building nature. Armored Core, of course, the whole thing is a single unit. Doesn't matter where you're hit, really. And Chrome Hounds, the game that this one is somewhat based off of, parts stuck around even if they were broken. And so you could build off of other parts and not have to worry about, oh no, that generator got taken out, and so now my Hound is completely dead because everything else was hanging on that. There's no linchpin parts. In this there are. Anyways, you'll see I put this on the top because I'm going to see if I can't armor the front of this. A lot of the cockpits are very long, which means that it makes it a little bit... Actually, no, wait. I could armor the front of this, but I just remembered that we're trying to go for speed here. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to try to go for a lower profile. Now, granted, this is standing, but just because it's standing does not mean that it can't have a low or slimline profile. You can basically either armor it, make it fast and hard to hit, or you can make it small and hard to hit. That's the theory behind my Battle Mage design, and a lot of the lowriders that people have. And I think that's what we'll go with for this. We're trying to make it fast, too. As you can see, 62 kph there. 63? Strange. We're not going to worry about that right now. That would be kind of funny. You know what? I'm going to see something. Let's deploy. Oh, right, we're in multiplayer right now. Hold on, back to menu. You don't need that right now. This is single player that we're going to be doing. Just some arena. I'm going to try something. I'm going to see how fast this is, how mobile it is, see if I can't actually do anything with this. Because generally speaking, any other parts that are added to this are just going to slow it down. Now, the more energy you have, the faster you can go. That's not terrible. That's actually pretty zippy. I think if I can keep this above 60 kph, that might be pretty nice. But as you can see, I have an incredibly slow turning radius. This is because of this sort of chassis. And if I try to stop, it takes me a couple seconds to reach my full speed, and it takes me a couple seconds to slow down. Or a second or two. And that was with me hitting backwards and trying to force a slowdown. If I just let go, it's even longer to actually stop. These are really cool animations on these legs, though. Anyways. Now, I could do the same thing with scouts, with the wheels or the hovers, but I'm going to try to do something silly with this. You know, I'm going to try to see if I can't make this quick and zippy. Although, I know I'm going back and I'm backtracking on a lot of things. But this is part of the fun of the garage. This is something that a lot of people end up doing in these games, is the building. It's half the fun. I'm going to see if there's any bipeds that have a similar sort of... Yeah, it was the boosted. So stabilized, boosted, I think, was the best one that I had. 44, 47.43. A similar profile on some of these guys. 46. So there are actually some that are faster. Boosted, boosted. 43. 48. Oh, okay. This could be... I wonder if we can break a 50 on there. Doesn't look like it. But we can get a 48 on this... much faster turning, and a 30 acceleration, as opposed to, and let's just double check these. Nope, not generators, mobility. And a 30 acceleration as opposed to 5 acceleration. As you can see, there's a much bigger difference in that. So, if we took this off, put that down, these will be even faster, and they actually even have a little bit more weight to them. This is part of what makes them better as soldiers. But these won't have nearly as much shock absorption. 69 kph, that's pretty nice. These won't have nearly as much shock absorption. And so... Now, if I add a small generator to this, does that speed me up? Does not speed me up or slow me down. I'm going to experiment a little bit. Generator doesn't speed me up or slow me down. No effect on speed. Let's see. These two are identical, so I'm not going to, except for the defense, I'm not going to bother testing both of them. And when I mean identical. They almost even have the same attach points. Not exactly, but nearly. Still the same. Yeah, this has more armor, and they have slightly different attach points and different sizes. This one's a little bit bigger, maybe a little easier to hit at some point, I don't know. And this big guy, very heavy, a lot of energy though. That actually slows you down a little bit. So that does not add enough energy to offset the speed reduction, the weight. That also. And the last, heavy. Big cube box. No, that one doesn't affect it. Alright, so I'm going to not worry about these two. And if I need extra energy, I'm going to use one of these guys. What kind of weapons do I want, though? I could use flamethrowers. I could use rockets. I like the assault rifles. They're decent. Shotguns have a lot of kickback. I'm not going to want to try that with this chassis, I don't think. Same with cannons and howitzers and sniper rifles. So machine guns, rockets, assault rifles, or flamers. I mean, I could go with more than one of them, too. But I think that I want a lot of bang for my buck, so I'm going to go with the quads. And I'm going to go with the lightest, LGTZs. These only weigh 260. Now, they're not very durable, but let's see about this, because I will probably need more energy generation regardless. Can I stick that on there? I can. 68 for the weight. And dupe. And up. And dupe. And down. That's pretty nice. I like that. I could do... You know, I'm going to try something kind of silly. And turn... There's controls setups for these. Alright, so I can do that. And then I could put weapons on the other side as well. 65. Again, I don't want to go below 60 kph here. So I'm going to try to get another weapon on here. Actually, this is 628, 760, so that's probably going to be heavier anyways. Alright, weapons. Rockets are decently long range. Let's go with the machine guns. LTGZ minis, again, lightest machine gun you can get. And there. And there. And there. That's not very much weight at all, so that's good. Down to 62 kph. Don't want to go any lower than that if I can avoid it. Only using 530 energy. I wonder. More energy? Does that speed me up? That does speed me up. Ooh. What about this? How much... Can I just slap everything on here and just get more speed? I cannot, it looks like. There are diminishing returns there. So this actually does speed me up a little tiny bit, though. I do not mind that at all. Okay. Form up our weapons. This is going to be a little bit of a silly build. It's going to be open, It's not going to do much damage. Well, it might do damage. Rockets and machine guns are decent for that. But it's kind of open, and it's really relying on being thin and being fast. Neither of which are necessarily things that you want to rely on for a biped. Now you'll notice I'm actually assigning the weapon groups. I'm assigning the middle weapon here first. That's because this is where the weapons are attached. This is another one of the minor strategies that the players have figured out so far because of the spine system, the linchpin system, is that if you lose weapons, you kind of want the first one, which is the camera one, to be the one that's centralized. Because if you lose that weapon, then not only are you using the camera, you're losing all the other weapons as well. So you might as well do it that way, and then only assign other weapons as the camera weapon if you have extra weapon groups. It's just, I don't know, it's simpler that way and a little bit easier. Alright, let's see. Crater Arena, Blind Alley, No Man's Pass, No Man's Pass. Let's go to the original Outpost Alpha. It's small, it's a bit intimate. Let's see what we can... Wow. See? A lot more acceleration on these bipeds. And... Fires your rockets! Much too far away. Fires your rockets! Not far enough. Fires your machine guns. Arr. Fires your rockets. Too far. Up. Now see, I am actually avoiding these. Which is interesting. And fires your rockets. See, and I'm using speed, and I'm using agility, my turning speed. Ow. Ow. So that ow doesn't happen. I go in a straight line too much? Yeah, they, can figure things out. Ow. 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 Now see? Incredibly light. Not very, not a huge amount of firepower on me, because I'm using that lighter cockpit as well. But if I can avoid being hit in the legs too much, AI seem to target the legs more than anything else. It's not exactly a glitch in the programming, but more a case of the programming happening to cause that issue. Up now, here's another guy. Here's a scout. He is also very lightly armored and very lightly armed, but he has wheels, so he's actually going to be faster than me. Probably. Unless he has very little energy generation and a lot of weight on him. But this might be the one kill that I get. Ow, 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 ow! Ooh! Now, see? Again, that was actually the cockpit, because this guy had managed to burn me, and this cockpit had little health, because it's a very light one. But you can see they're using similar cockpits, because they're very light, and you can't fit many weapons on a scout chassis, or a light chassis like this anyways. And so, there's really no point to have a heavier cockpit on a light chassis, if you don't need it. Aha! That was a pretty good shot there. See, like, you can see that those machine guns are actually ruining my day. But... Aha! One kill! Hooray. Well, I guess that we'll see... No, I guess that would be the end of it here. I'll maybe show off a little bit more of what this build can do. But yeah, you can see this is... not your traditional scout build. It's using bipeds, which means that it's taller than normal, which means that it does have a larger hitbox than normal, I suppose. But it makes it very agile, and it's still fast enough, if you're building it the right way, that you could use it as a scout. Even though it's not Ow, 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 ow. I'm on fire. Why am I on fire? You. I don't like you. Ow. But yeah, you can use it as a scout build, even if you're not on hovers or wheels. It's an interesting element of these build-your-own mech games. You can tell it's very lightly armored. Decent arms, but only if you're accurate. And rather fast. Well, join me next week. I might try to make these weekly anyways. Join me next week for the next M.A.V. One-Shots, where we may build another one, or we may take out, again, another of my pre-built M.A.Vs. Maybe I'll try walking you through a Gator or a Sidewinder or something that everybody else likes to use. Although, if you want one of those, you can probably just watch an old Chromehounds video. Anyways, this is Anvil Dude, signing off. Have a good day.